All right, good morning and welcome to Daf Yomi Maseches Megillah, Daf Yud number 10. Shmuel, I don't know where he is. He predicted that it would rain today. It is actually sunny outside today. So Shmuel has lost his job as the weatherman at Con 11 News. He's looking for another job. If you know of any availabilities, please contact him. You can write your recommendation in the comments. I'll be sure to reach out to him and to let him know of the availability of a new job. Because he's not here, I don't have someone to drink with today, which is pretty good because I had a shot yesterday, plus I had a beer last night. So I guess I don't know what the recommendation is. I think the recommendation is to have about 4 drinks per week. That's normal drinking. Most people do more. Many people do more, but I have beer is considered one drink. A shot of whiskey is considered another drink, or scotch. Not only a half a drink, but of scotch, but a whole beer. All right, we get started today. On the bottom of Tet Amud Beis, the Mishnah says, "Ein ben Shiloh Yushalayim el shebashilo ochlen kachim kalim u'maiser sheni mechol haroa." Shiloh, when Yeshua conquered Eretz Yisrael, so we know that the base of Megillah wasn't built for a long time. First, they went to Gilgal, where they had a temporary Mishkan. And then they had Shiloh, which was for 369 years, and that was more permanent structure. It wasn't the base of Mikdash. Then they had Nova Givon for 57 years, I think, and then they finally Shlomo HaMelech built the base of Mikdash, the first base of Mikdash. There's no difference in Shiloh and Yerushalayim. Shiloh, Ochlin, Kachim, Kalim, Chen, Michal, Haroa. Yerushalayim with Nim Minachom. Kachim, Kalim, like Shlamim or something like that, which are not mandated to eat in the actual Azara. They have to eat it in the actual confines of the base of Mikdash. You could eat it in all Yerushalayim. So in Yerushalayim, you could eat it within the walls of Yerushalayim. Kachim Kalim, which are Shlamim and things like that, and Meiser Sheni, right, those could eat in the walls of Yerushalayim. And at the time of Shiloh, where there was no walls of Yerushalayim, as long as from where you were eating, you could see the base of Mikdash, that would be good enough. The kan kachim nechal lifnim min haklayim. And kachim, which are more chomer, like korban ola, chatas, which are eaten by the kohanim, really, in the azara. It has to be within. So they didn't have actually walls of the azara. They had klayim. They had curtains in time of Shiloh, but they have to be in the kachim. Have to eat in the curtains of Shiloh or in the azara of the base of Mikdash when it was built in Yerushalayim. Kedusha Shiloh, yesh top of Yudam and Aleph, yesh achareh heter. It has a heter, meaning after Shiloh was moved to Nova Givon, the Mishkan was moved to Nova Givon, so there's a heter of bamos, of having either a public bama or a private bama, your own mizbeach. Kedusha Yerushalayim ein achareh heter. The Mishnah holds Yerushalayim after it was destroyed. The base of Mikdash was destroyed. There's no head there to make bamos anymore. Bamos were forbidden forever. He said that Beis Chanya was a descendant of one of the Kohanim Gedolim. He fled to Alexandria, Egypt. He built a temple there. So he said that Bisman Hazeh, after the destruction of the Beis HaMikdash, you could, this is talking about after the destruction of the second Beis HaMikdash, you could be makriv of karbanos. It could be makriv of karbanos and a bama. Kasara Beis Chanya, he held two things. Kasara Beis Chanya, la Beis Avodah Zarah. He considered the temple of Beis Chanya not considered Avodah Zarah. Kasara Kedusha Rishana Kitchel Shaisa V'lo Kitchel Lavo. Yerushalayim's Kedusha had the Kedusha while it was Beis Hamikdash still around, but once it ceased to exist, there's no more Kedusha anymore, and there's a heter of bamos. What's his proof? It says in the Torah, you haven't come yet into the Menucha, into the Nachal. Menucha is Shiloh. Menucha is a reference to Shiloh, which was the Mishkan for 369 years. Nachal is Yerushalayim, that's the base of Mikdash. Makish Nachal Menucha. The pasuk compares Nachal and Menucha. Ma Menucha yesh achareh heter. Just like Menucha has a heter after it. Af Nachal yesh achareh heter. Just like Shiloh, after Shiloh, Nov V'Givon, you were allowed to makrim on the bamos. So too, after Yerushalayim is destroyed, after the base is destroyed, you're allowed to be makrim on the bamos. Amrulay, so they said to Rav Yitzchak, Amart, you really said this? Amar Lahu lo, he said, I didn't say this. He apparently retracted from what he said. Amarava Elokim Amrava Gamir Lamina. He said he really did say this. He really retracted. And I learned from him, my time why was he retracting from what he said? Mishum Kashi the Rav Mari. Because Rav Mari had a strong question in his opinion. The most of Rav Mari's question was Kedusha Shili Eish Nacharei Heter, Kedusha Shalayim Ein Nacharei Heter. From our Mishnah. Our Mishnah says Yerushalayim, there's no heter after Yerushalayim is destroyed. There's no heter to makar and bamos. Va'od, another proof against Rabbi Yitzchak, Nan Mishabol Yerushalayim Nesra Bamos. La Yalahem Od heter v'Hiya Yisal Nachala. Another Mishnah says when they came to Yerushalayim, the bamos were aser, and even after it was destroyed, there was no heter anymore. It became the nachala. So the Gemara answers, really, it's not. Rabbi Yitzchak is not completely disproven. Tonight, it's Melchus Tanayim Desanya. Amar Rabbi Elazar Shamatik Shiboni Behechal Osin Kilayim LaHechal B'Kilayim LaAzara. When they built the Hechal in the time of when they were building the Beis HaMikdash, they made curtains to separate the Hechal from outside the Hechal, and Kilayim and separate the Azara from outside the Azara. Curtains there also. They built the curtains from the outside of the Hechal. You're not supposed to step in the Hechal unless you have a real reason to. A Kohen has a real avoda to do inside the Hechal. But Azara, they allowed themselves to Kohanim to build from the inside, to build the curtains. Amar Yeshua, that's Rezer said. Amar Yeshua, Shemati Shemakriv and Aval B'Shein bias. I heard that you can be makar of a korban even though there's no bias. Ochin Kadshe Kadshim Aval B'Shein Kilayim. You could eat Kadshe Kadshim even though there's no it doesn't exist anymore, the curtains. And there's manazeh. Kadshim Kalam, Ma'aser Shein Al B'Shein Choma. You could eat Kadshim Kalam after destruction of the Beis HaMikdash, Ma'aser Shein, even though normally have to eat in Yerushalayim, you could eat it even though outside Yerushalayim, even though there's no wall. They should do Shana Kitcha L'Shaisa Kitcha L'Asid Lavo. Because the Kedusha still exists. I'm sorry, I didn't say you could eat outside the Choma. I didn't say you could eat outside the Kilayim. It says, even though there is no Kilayim now, there's no curtains, even though there's no Choma, as long as you're within the area where there was a Choma, or within the area where there was the Kilayim, so the Kedusha Beis HaMikdash should still exist. Because that's the opinion. The Kedusha remains even after the destruction of the Beis HaMikdash. In which case it would mean that their bamos are going to be aser because Kedusha of Yerushalayim still exists. Once the Kedusha still exists, the bamos are aser. So that's Rabbi Yeshua's opinion. The first opinion in this price is what was he arguing about? What was Rabbi teaching us by the fact that they were putting curtains in? Must be held that you need the curtains. You have to be makdish the makom again, and therefore the Kedusha would cease with the destruction of the Beis HaMikdash. Amalei Ravina, Ravashi, how do you know? It's true. Really, the Kedusha exists even without a Choma, even without Kilayim. All Rabbi Elazar was saying is that he heard they were building, they were putting up curtains. Not that you necessitated to have curtains in order to make the Kedusha reappear once again. So why were they putting up curtains? You don't need it. You have the Kedusha Rishona. Merciless news about just for privacy, the privacy for doing whatever you want to do in the Heichal or for eating in the Azara, then for the Sneus. Ella Kihani Thnai. So the Gemara retracts and it says maybe the Machlokes, whether Kedusha Rishona, Kitchel Shaisa, the Kitchel Asalavo, or not Kitchel Asalavo, is really Malchus Tanayim, the following Tanayim. The Sanya Amar Rabbi Shmuel Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Shmuel, the son of Rabbi Yossi, said, Lama Manu Chamim Es Elu. Why did the Chamim count these, right? When they went up with Ezra from Bavel to rebuild the second Beis HaMikdash, so one of the things they try to count or try to figure out which was the walled city from the time of Yoshua. Not reference to the Megillah, but in reference to the halacha of Bate Arichom, that if you have houses in a walled city for the time of Yoshua, so therefore the houses, when they're sold, are sold permanently, unless you buy them back within 12 months of their sale. If you buy them back within 12 months, they go back to the owner. If you don't buy them back, they never come back to you, even at Yovel, as opposed to an unwalled city where you could buy them back whenever you want. If you don't buy them back at Yovel, they still go back to you. So the Chachamim, when they went up from the Babel, they wanted to find out which cities were walled from the time of Yeshua. Matzu es Elu v'Kidshum. They found the following cities. This is a mission to Erechim, and they were Makadesh. Rishon is Batlu Mishabat La'aretz. But only when if they found it to be walled. But if the first ones, they didn't have a wall, so once the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, so they lost their Kedusha. Alma Kasar, Kedusha, Kichel Shaisa, Velo Kichel Asad Lavo. Right? If they didn't find it to be still walled, so therefore it lost its Kedusha, the structure of the Beis Hamikdash, and therefore it's not considered Batei Arichoma. Raminuhu, we had a Bryce analogous, Amar Rabbi Shmuel Rabbi Yossi. Same time, I think we're going to ask in a second. Were these the only ones? Valok for Nemar, there's another mission Erechim. One Nemar, Shishim Ir, Kol Chevel Argov. There were 60 cities in the area of Argov. V'chsiv Kolela, Arim, Masuros, Komos, Gvoa. They were all fortified cities with a tall wall. Alama, Manu Kaman Look Shalom, Minagola, Matuela, V'kidshum. Why do they count these? They found these and they were Makadish them. So the Gemara asks on this word, Kidshum, the top of Yudam and Beis, Hashta Ha'amri Lo Sricha L'Kedusha. We're going to see the continuation of this Bryce or Mishnah later on. We'll see in a second. It says you don't have to be Makadish. So what does it mean? They're Makadish. They found these cities, even though they didn't have walls, since they once had walls, so therefore Kedusha Rishona continues even after the destruction of the Megillah, and they counted. Any city where you have a Masorah tradition from your forefathers, that it had a wall at the time of the conquest of Israel by Yeshua ben Nun, all the mitzvos of Batei Archon apply to it because the Kedusha remains even after the destruction of the Megillah. So this second Bryce or second Mishnah holds that Kedusha Rishona retains its Kedusha even after the destruction of the Megillah. So the Gemara is Kasha to Rishmal. They were both said Rabbi Rishmal, Rabbi Yossi. So what's going on? One holds Lo Kitchel Asad Lavo, and the second one holds Kitchel Asad Lavo. The Gemara says Trei Tanai Liba the Rishmal Rabbi Yossi. There were two opinions. Two Tanoim differed as to what they heard in the name of Rishmal Rabbi Yossi. Levi same. Alternatively, how Rabbi Yossi Amar. The second one, which holds Kitchel Rishona Kitchel Shaisa Vik Kitchel Asad Lavo, is not Rabbi Shmuel Rabbi Yossi, it's Rabbi Yossi. The Sanya, Rabbi Yossi Amar, he says on a brayso, Asher Lo Choma, we heard this earlier, it doesn't have a wall. It says it's written low with a vav, but you pronounce it low with an aleph. To tell you, even though it doesn't have low, it doesn't have now, it's still considered low with a vav, it's still considered it has wall, because Rishona Kitchel Shaisa, Vik Kitchel Asad Lavo. And therefore, just like Batei Arichoma apply, even though there's no wall, so too the Beis Hamikdash Kedusha still applies, even though there's no Beis Hamikdash, and therefore there'd be an Isra of Bamos. So you see, it's actually Malchus Tanoim. The Gemara continues. We're finally starting to get into the meat and potatoes of Zechus Megillah. We're going to start darshaning the Megillah. It happened in the days of Achashverosh. The first words of the Megillah. Megillah says, this thing is a tradition in our hands. Whenever the Torah or the Nevi'im Maksuvim uses the word Vayhi, it happened. It's going to tell you. It's a prelude to talking about something which was difficult, a pain. When Achashverosh started his rule, there was immediately, we know about Haman, who was an evil person. The beginning of the period of Shoftim, there was a famine. In the Bereshit, when it says people started to multiply on the land, we saw that people went down, they were taking all sorts of women for their wives. When it talks about Migdal Bavel, they said they want to build a tower to Shamayim to fight with Hashem. He and days of Amraphel. What happened next? They made Amlachama. The four kings against 5 kings. He Bios Yeshua, Yericho. When Yeshua was in Yericho, we learn about the angel came out with his sword drawn. We learn Daf Gimel. Hashem es Yeshua. And it says Hashem was with Yeshua. Vayamalu b'nei Yisrael. Following that, it says that b'nei Yisrael committed Megillah. They took from the spoils. One pasuk is talking about the story of Chana. Kias Chana Ahava Hashem Sagar Ezrachma, that Her husband Elkanah loved Chana, but Hashem caused her to be barren. Vahiki, Zaki, and Shmuel. And Shmuel got old. Immediately we learned that his children didn't follow in his path. Something bad. It says that David was successful. Hashem imo. Vahi Shaul, and as David, we learned right after that Shaul was chasing after David. He was angry at him. Vahiki Yashav Amelech Beiso. When David was sitting in his house, Rakat Halo Sivne Habayis. Then we immediately learned that Hashem says you're not worthy to build the base of Mikdash. V'achsiv. The Gemara finally asked, V'achsiv, v'yebi yom hashmini. It says when the Mishkan was completed after the Chanukah's the 7 days of chinuch of the Mishkan. It says in the 8th day. V'tanya osa yom haisa simcha le'Hakadosh Baruch. That day, which was Rosh Chodesh Nisan, was a tremendous happy day for Hashem. Yom shnevru bo shemayim v'aretz, like the day that the world was created. How do you know that? It says just like the first day was the day of creation was a happy day, so too the day when the Mishkan was erected was a happy day. The answer is no. It wasn't such a happy day because Nadav and Avihu died. They brought the Eish Zara on the first day of the Mishkan. The Gemara asks further. It says 480 years after they left Mitzrayim, they built the Shlomo Melech built the Beis Hamikdash. And also, Yaakov was Rachel. When Yaakov came to the well, he saw Rachel. That was a happy thing. He saw his future wife. It says about creation. It says by the word Vayhi, which is a happy time. The second and the third day, all days of creation were happy days. There's many times in Vayhi, and there's nothing negative afterwards. Rashi answers, when it says Vayihi, it could either be good or it could either be bad. Vayihi bimei, when it says Vayihi bimei, those two words together ain't no lashon sar. That's talking about time of difficulty, of suffering. Chamisha Vayihi bimei habu. There were 5 examples of Vayihi bimei. Vayihi bimei Achashverosh. It happened in the days of Achashverosh. Then there was Haman. Vayihi bimei Shvara Shof. Then there was a Rav of a family. Vayihi bimei Amraphel. Then in the days of Amraphel, that was the war of the 4 kings against the 5 kings. Vayihi bimei Achaz. In the days of Achaz. Achaz was one of the kings of after David, and in his days, what does it say? His days, it says, he fought against. There was a Ritzin, the king of Aram, came to fight against Yerushalayim. The 5th time it says, Yoyakim, it says in the days of Yoyakim, we know immediately the days of Yoyakim, that's when Nebuchadnezzar came and destroyed the base of Mikdash. Amar Levi, Davar Zem, B'Yadenu, Avosenu, Amutz v'Amatzia, Achim Havu. Amutz and Amatzia were brothers. Amatzia, we know, is one of the kings of Yehuda, is the descendant of David. My Kamashal, what's the Chiddush? Kihad, Amar of Shmuel, Nachmeni, Amar Yonasan, Kol Kala, she's Snu B'Beis Chamea. Any daughter-in-law that she's snua, she has modesty in her father-in-law's house. Zocha v'yosem meno malachim v'neviim. She has the merit of kings and prophets coming from her descendants. We know Allah. How do you know that? From Tamar. From Tamar, they'll say Vayar by Yehuda v'Yachshvel Zona. Kigista Banea. Yehuda, he saw a Tamar and he thought she was a prostitute because she covered her face. The answer Mishum the Kista Panea v'Yachshvel Zona. It'll be the opposite. Because she covered her face, thought she was a zona. Usually zonas uncover more parts of the body than cover. Certainly if she's covering her face, she's not a zona. Ela mishum the cost panev beis chameh, because when she was the daughter-in-law of Yehuda, and when she was in her father-in-law's house, she used to cover her face. She was very sanua. And he didn't know who she was. So therefore, Tamar had this chus of kings and prophets coming from her progeny. Malachim David. David was one of her descendants. He was a king. Nevi'im, the Amar Levi, Masaros B'Yadenu, Amos Amatzia, Achim Hayu. Amos and Amatzia were brothers. Amatzia was a king from the house of David. Chazon Yeshayahu ben Amos. Yeshayahu was a big Navi. He was the son of Amos, so he was a nephew of Amatzia, so therefore came from David, came from Tamar, also Nevi'im, Yeshayahu. Amar Levi teaches something else. This we also learned from our forefathers. Makom Aron Eina Min Amida, the place where the Aron was in the Kadshei HaKadshim was not counted among. It didn't really measure at all. It was basically held up in free space. We learned also there's a Bryce Aron Shasa Moshe Yesh lo Eser Amos l'chol ruach. From the two sides of the Aron, there was 10 amos to each side. V'chsiv l'nei advir Eser Ama Orech. The Kodshei HaKodshim was 20 amos long. V'chsiv Knaf HaKruva Echad Eser Amos. Knaf HaKruva Echad Eser Amos. The wings of the Shnei Kruvim, each of them had wings that extended 10 amos. So, and they were the edge of the Aron. Aron Kufe Heicha Havakai. So, if the wings took up 20 amos, the only time was there. So, the main part of the Aron, which held the Luchos, where's it standing? It stood in a miraculously, it didn't take up any space. Rabbi Yonasan Pasach La Pischa La Haiparsh Samahacha. Rabbi Yonasan started darshaning on Megillah Esther at Purim. He started darshaning from this pasuk. V'kamti aleim v'gomer ekrati lebavel shem v'sher v'nin v'necha num Hashem. The Navi says that Hashem is going to destroy from Bavel Shem, a name, a share, a remnant, v'nin v'neched, progeny, and a grandchild. Num Hashem. That's what Hashem says. Shem zaksav. This is the script of Bavel. The Babylonian script will be erased forever. Sher is Elashon. Sher is the language of Bavel. Will be erased. Nin ze Malchus. Nin is the kingdom of Bavel. Meneched zu Vashti. Meneched is the grandson, the granddaughter is Vashti, was the granddaughter of Nebuchadnezzar. He started talking about Purim, Megillah Esther from here. Tachas hanatzus yale barosh. Tachas hasirpad yale hadash. Tachas hanatzus, from the thorn, instead of the thorn, Tachas Haman Rasha, instead of Haman Rasha, Sha'atzma Atzma Barazara, he made himself a Barazara, you'll see, Alulim, right? The word Natzutz is related to thorns and Halulim, thistles, which is a reference to Barazara. Yale Barosh. Barosh is a cypress tree. Is that Mordechai Shnik Barosh? Barosh, it also sounds like head, the center, the head. That Mordechai Shnik Barosh, L'chol Absamim, he was considered to be the main part of all the spices used in the Torah. Rosh marjaror. The main part of the psamim, you should take marjaror. Maridaki. The target was maridaki, which sounds like Mordechai. So Mordechai is a reference to one of the biggest spices in the Torah. So he was the rosh, he was the head, which sounds like berosh, or cypress. Tachas hasirpad, tachas vashti arasha. Sirpad is the nettles, a type of another type of thorn. Tachas Vashti, Russia, Bas Nebuchadnezzar, the granddaughter of Nebuchadnezzar, Russia, Shesar Rafidas, Beis Hashem. What is related to Sarpad? It sounds like Rafidas. Rafidas, Beis Hashem is another way of saying the beauty of the house of Hashem. The Rafidas Ozav, the housing of Hashem, the beautiful housing of Hashem is made of gold. Yala Hadas, Hadas, a myrtle branch, will rise up. Zu Esther Asadekis. This is referring to Esther. Shnikra Hadassah. She wasn't called Hadassah. Nemar Vahi Omenas Hadassah. It is in Megillah that Mordechai would bring up. She was the niece that he married, Hadassah. Vayala Hashem l'shem. The pasuk continues. It will be for Hashem name. Zu Mikra Megillah. The Mikra Megillah will proclaim Hashem's name. La'osa Olam, for a sign for generations. Lo Yikares. It won't be cut off. Eli Me Purim. These are days of Purim, which show that Hashem still exists. He started talking about the Megillah from here. Right, it says in the close in the Torah, the way Hashem was happy to do good things for you. If you do bad, Hashem will be happy to do bad to you. Was Hashem really happy when Klal Yisrael or Rishonim do Averos? When they go out to war, they would say a praise to Hashem. He's always good. Why don't they say Hodul Hashem? Normally say Hodul Hashem Ki Tov. Hashem is good. There's a tefillah when they went out to war to defeat the Rishonim. Hashem's not happy when Rishonim get killed. This is talking about when Klal Yisrael went into the Yam Suf, Mitzrayim were chasing after them. Bikshu Malach Hasharis Lomar Shira. The Malach Hasharis wanted to sing Shira for Hashem for saving Klal Yisrael. Kriyas Yam Suf. The Egyptians are drowning in the Yam Suf. I tell them Shira, you're going to say Shira. Hashem's not happy that people die. Hashem is not going to be happy himself. But he does make other people happy about Rishoim's downfall. But and it's borne out When the words Kain Yasis Veloksiv Kain Yasus, not that Hashem will be happy, Yasis, he'll cause other people to be happy. Shema Mina. We see a good proof. Rabbi Abba, Bar Kahana, Pasuk La Pisk La Parshas HaMahacha. He started talking Megillah from here. Adam Shetov Lefan of Nasan Chachma Badas. The person that was good before him, for in the eyes of Hashem, he gave wisdom and understand and knowledge with Simcha and happiness. And Mordechai Atzadik, he gave to Mordechai Lachote. And the sinner Nasan Inyan Lesav Lichnos gave him an idea to try to amass as much money as he can. Zahaman, it was Haman. I'll tell you, Tov Ne'elokim, Zemordech Esther. In order that should be good before Hashem. This is a reference to what happened with Mordechai. As you'll see, but doesn't Esther as Mordechai, I'll base Haman. Eventually, after Haman was killed, Esther gave the house of Haman to Mordechai. So you see, Haman amassed all that wealth, and then Mordechai was able to inherit it. All right, we'll stop here with today's shir. Again, I'll have to find somebody else to drink with a different time, maybe tomorrow. We'll see you all tomorrow. Bye.